Hello, this is Jason with BDI, and I'm going to show you how to install STS-LIVE onto your computer. Now, I'm using Windows 7 for this, but in general, this installer goes the same for any version of Windows that you have. Just the items that you have to click on might be in a different spot in the Windows operating system, depending on what version of Windows you're using. So what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to open up a File Explorer, and I'm going to click on the removable disk that was included when you purchased your system, and it's going to have a folder that indicates STS-LIVE or STS-LIVE installer. I'm just going to click on that, and this is the version that I'm going to install. It's a 1.4. So I'm going to click on the STS-LIVE 1.4 folder, and within that folder there's going to be a file called setup.exe. So I'm going to click on this setup.exe, and it's going to start the installation process. It will ask if this program is allowed to run. I'm going to select yes, and then STS-LIVE will proceed to install. It's going to ask where you want to install this at. It's best to just leave all these as the default file paths. Click next here. You do have to accept the licenses for STS-LIVE, as well as some National Instruments software that STS-LIVE runs on top of. So the install goes pretty fast. If you've never had STS-LIVE installed on a computer before, the install might take a little bit longer. This computer has had STS-LIVE installed, so it didn't take quite as long to set everything up there. I'm going to click next again. And this is going to bring up a STS-LIVE configuration program, and what this does is allow you to set up your install of STS-LIVE. So the first thing you'll see is the security tab, and it's going to prompt you to enter a password. The default password is capital B, capital D, capital I. I'm going to leave this as the default, but if you'd like to, you can put in any password you'd like here, and this just allows you to log into STS-LIVE at the highest level. You don't need to log into STS-LIVE to run a test, but if you need to change calibration factors with sensors and stuff like that, you will need to log into STS-LIVE. So this is where you'd update that information. If I were to click next, it's going to take me to the system memory. Now these are default settings, so it's best to leave these the way they are. If you find that you're running into some issues with STS-LIVE, we encourage you to give us a call or shoot us an email, and we can help you through setting these up to optimize it for your system. If I click next again, it's going to take me to my IP settings tab. Now in order to run STS-LIVE, we have to set up the IP address to be 192.168.10.2 on the network interface card that we're going to be using to connect to the STS-4 system. I can walk through setting that up. This particular window just gives you the ability to test whether or not this is set up already. So I'm going to test, and this is not set up. I got a red X here, so I need to go through and actually set this in my system, but I'm going to wait for just a second to do that. I'm going to go to this last tab here for sensor data and show you how to import a sensor file. So when you buy STS-LIVE, it comes with sensors included in your purchase, and you want to make sure that you import the calibration file into STS-LIVE. Otherwise, STS-LIVE will not recognize all of your sensors. So the way to do that is to click on this folder here, and it's going to bring up a window that allows you to select your calibration files. So what we want to do is to navigate to the calibration file that was included with your purchase. It's going to be included on the USB drive. So I'm going to click on the calibration file folder, and the calibration file will have a name corresponding to your business or project. For this one, it's just bdioffice.cal, so it's going to be that cal file. So you just click on that, you click OK, and when that is recognized as a valid calibration file, you'll get a import sensor file button. So you simply click that button, and that was able to import that cal file into the install of STS-LIVE. So if you'd like to go in and edit the sensor file and the calibration file, you can click on this button. And this is going to be a separate video that I make that shows you all about how to change the settings for your calibration file. But this just tells me that I was able to import 306 sensors into my calibration file. So for now, I'm going to close this. And I'm going to set up my IP address now. So to do that, I'm going to click on the Start button, and I'm going to type Network Connections. And click on View Network Connections. And for this computer, I've got 3 possible network connections. I'm going to be using a USB network interface card that I have plugged in to program to the IP address that STS-LIVE needs to operate. So to program this, I'm going to right-click on it, go down to Properties. I'm going to click on the Internet Protocol version for TCP IP v4. Then I'm going to click Properties. Now, most likely, your computer will be set up to the default setting of obtain an IP address automatically. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the following IP address, and I'm going to type in 192.168.10.2 for the IP address. For the subnet mask, it auto fills in 255.255.255.0. I'm going to remove the third 255 and add a 0 to the subnet mask. And this is going to allow STS-LIVE to connect to all the nodes. So for the DNS server address, there's no DNS server for this network, so we don't need to enter any values in here. We also do not need to enter a default gateway. So just setting these to the IP address and the subnet mask will allow us to connect to our nodes. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click Close, and I'm going to close this window. Now when I go back to IP settings, I should be able to test it and see that I have a valid connection. Oh, it says that I still do not have a valid connection, and the reason why that is that I don't actually have anything plugged into that network interface card, so it hasn't changed the IP address yet. So let me plug, I'm going to actually plug a TCP IP router into this, and then we should see that it's able to change that and have a green check marker. Okay, so I've just plugged up. I said router. It's actually a TCP IP switch. It's not a router that I just plugged in. So I'm going to test it again. Now we see that the TCP IP is okay. So I was successfully able to change my IP address to 192.168.10.2. Now, if you're using a wireless connection, you would go through the same process. In that case, you would just select that wireless network interface card instead of the wired network interface card. So now that the configuration for STS-LIVE is set, I'm going to close this window. I'm also going to close this window. We'll notice that we have a new icon on the desktop that is STS-LIVE. So I'm going to click on STS-LIVE, and it'll open the STS-LIVE software. It takes just a second for it to start. So I'm going to make a separate video that tells you about all the different options of STS-LIVE and how everything works. So from this, I'm going to leave off and leave all the information about how to use STS-LIVE for the next video.